So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. The question is, how do you maintain 100% battery health? I've done just that here on my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I've had it since launch day. So this phone is, it's not old, but it's definitely getting near that year point, and I'm still at 100%. So I want to talk to you about what I haven't done and what I have done to maintain this health. Now you can apply all these tips and things you're going to learn in this video to your particular iPhone. I'm going to begin with a couple things I never let it do. So I never let this thing fully discharge to the lowest level, like, down to where you see red and things like that. So definitely never let it discharge. And I had a high awareness of this. I was constantly, I wouldn't say all the time checking it, but I would periodically throughout the day, every couple hours or so, just take a look, make sure the battery is not that low. This is something that was always on my mind. Definitely wanted to make sure I preserved it. I had an experience where my iPhone 11 Pro Max dropped a few percent within just a couple months. Wasn't very happy with that. So definitely decided to keep an eye on it. So I just didn't let it discharge because I had that awareness of it. That's the first thing. The next thing I never let it do was I specifically never let this battery get below 50%. I did that also by using low power mode sometimes, depending on if I was out or not. And there was a couple times where I did slip up and it did hit 49, 48%, but overall I worked on it and made sure that I definitely did not go below 50% for the majority of the time, whether that meant I was plugging into a car charger when driving, a battery pack on the go, or, just constantly topping up throughout the day if needed. The 13 Pro Max doesn't really need top ups that often, but when it did, I made sure that I topped it up so I didn't go below the 50% mark, which might actually cycle the battery. And you got about 500 cycles. If you keep cycling it every day, you're definitely going to witness this thing go down a little bit faster than you would like. The next thing I always did was I made sure I used Apple certified chargers. So you want to make sure you use an OEM based product. Now this is the 5-watt charger. I was typically charging the 13 Pro Max on its, fast charger, which is not recommended if you're going to keep your phone 5, years or so. You probably want to charge it slower, as the faster charging will heat up the battery a little bit more and potentially chemically age it a little bit faster. So I would recommend using this if you're not short on time, like you can charge it overnight or whatever, but we'll talk about should you even charge overnight later, or you're gonna charge it for several hours, you'll probably want to use this. But the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I was always fast charging it. But the thing I gotta say, again, always use the Apple certified chargers. There are some great chargers people don't have no problems with, such as some Anchor chargers, stuff like that. But I typically just use the OEM all the time. I have had no issues. The next thing I did was make sure that I kept the optimized charging mode on. So if you go to battery and then you click on battery health, there's going to be an area that says optimized battery charging. Now I made sure this was clicked on from the very start of getting my iPhone, just to be certain that, you can definitely reduce some battery aging. This iPhone will learn, it says right here, from daily charging routine, so it can wait to finish charging until you are going to use it. So why not use something Apple's including to help you reduce battery aging? You would not be wise if you don't use that feature. Next thing I also did was I never really wirelessly charged it, believe it or not. I know it's awesome that you have wireless charging capabilities, and a lot of people are going to place this thing on a wireless charger, but for me, I don't like how it heats up my battery. I definitely feel like it's going to knock a few percentage points off if I'm constantly wirelessly charging. Again, if you get a reputable wireless pad from a reputable company that knows how to produce those things a little bit better than some generic versions, you probably won't hurt it too much. But at the same time, still, I don't really prefer wireless charging, and that's something I didn't do, and I'm still at 100%. So I'm not sure if that played into it, but I just had to mention it here. It might help you maintain your battery life. The next thing I did, and I'm not going to enable it right here, but I went to accessibility. I made sure that auto brightness was enabled. This way you can definitely not hurt the battery because you're always having a max brightness all the time or really high brightness. Again, unnecessarily heating up the battery, potentially degrading its life over time. So I did use auto brightness quite a bit on this phone just to make sure this battery would just age pretty well, and it's paid off in good dividends here. Next thing I didn't do, and it's again related to charging the iPhone, is I oftentimes never charge the iPhone all the way to 100%. Are you agreeing with this, or do you always charge to 100%? Another way, just to avoid, kind of cycling it a lot, I just didn't do that often. I mean, I always like having 100%, but I didn't always do that. A lot of times I would just pull it off at 89, 92, under 95, 90. I would just pull it off the charger and I'd be good to rock and roll for quite some time. So I just really didn't always charge it to 100%. That's just something I had to mention here. It could be a way you can help avoid cycling the battery too much. Another thing is related to outdoors. So, sometimes you go to the beach, you place your phone down with a case, whatever, and you just have the sun beaming on it. And even with a case, it can still get quite warm. In addition to that, I never really did that. I also didn't put this in a windshield with a car. Those car GPS holders, definitely did not put it there so it could heat up and get really hot with the sun blazing through the windshield, stuff like that. So I typically kept the iPhone at room temperature for the most part. Just ways to avoid heating up this iPhone 13 Pro Max too much and saving my battery. It's definitely, I think, helped out a little bit and something you could try to apply. The next thing I did was I constantly, and I mean constantly, was checking for software updates, religiously keeping my iOS updated immediately as the iOS updates came out, just to make sure we don't have any bugs or any software issues messing with the battery performance. So definitely something you could keep in mind. Just keep your iOS updated as often as possible. You can even set it on automatic updates if you're a busy person, don't got time to do it all the time manually and stuff like that. You can just go here, automatic updates, download iOS updates, install them. It'll do it overnight automatically. You don't even got to do anything. So just make sure you have those turned on and you'll be good to go. Another thing I did a lot of the time was, and I'm not sure this one really helps the battery too much. It probably doesn't do much at all, but I just kept it clean a lot. Made sure no dust, particles and things got inside my phone, potentially getting in there, and maybe, just by the very tiniest of chances, might have got in there and messed with some battery contacts, stuff like that. Making sure just nothing gets in the phone, keeping it clean was definitely something on my high priority list and can help it to make sure you keep everything out. Even though it's like IP68, you still want to make sure you don't get nothing in there. And another thing I did was I also turned off features that I don't use that much on the iPhone. So for example, background app refresh, I turned this off. Why would I have this thing on in the background, constantly using battery, constantly updating, refreshing? No, I just turned it off. It's been off ever since like the beginning of my usage with this phone way back in September 2021. And I still have 100 battery life today. So definitely hoping that helped. Again, not sure how much each one of these individually helped, but just turning off some unnecessary features just helped quite a bit, like that one, for example. And another thing I didn't really do much is I didn't really charge this thing overnight. I think we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I just didn't leave it charging while I was asleep. I just wanted to make sure that, it didn't overcharge. It doesn't really overcharge, but, it just wanted to make sure that, it wasn't hurting the battery or cycling it too much by, charging while I was sleeping. Now, some people can't get around this. They just have to charge overnight. And if you do, again, just turn on the feature optimized battery charging. Use a slower brick since you're going to be sleeping. You'll still wake up with 100%. But definitely, these are the things I've done. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed that it's still held up to this day. Now, some people will report that just within a year, they're already down to 87, 86, 85, which is pretty, I don't like that. So try to implement some of these on your next iPhone purchase, or if you get a new battery, refresh it to 100%. Like if you replace it and it got a new refresh to 100%, try to apply some of these and see how it goes for you and report back later. I'm pretty sure a lot of them will help out just a little bit. And if you have any more tips, again, this was only like 10 to 12. I didn't cover every single thing you can do. I'll save that for a future video. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. You can help others out. Let them know what you did specifically and kind of give us an idea of where your battery capacity has been on your current iPhone. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well. Catch you on the next one. Peace.